It's that card girl, and today we're going to be taking a look at the One Piece card game's Starter Deck 34, the purple Charlotte Katakuri starter deck. Katakuri's last starter deck was the yellow Starter Deck 20, which came out just shortly before Hans and I got into the One Piece card game. So it's kind of interesting to be taking a look at a purple Katakuri deck now. But let's go ahead and get our box opened up so we can take a look at this starter deck. While I'm getting this box opened up and the insides taken out of it, I'm just going to remind you that this is the fourth of the 6 starter decks that just came out that we are going over on the channel. Just like all our other starter decks, tucked away on the bottom, we have our quick start guide paper play mat. There's our deck sandwich, and underneath it we have our pack of OP16, the Time of Battle, which will open up as a short at the end of putting out all 6 of these deck videos. And that of course leaves us with our nicely wrapped up deck sandwich with Charlotte Katakuri staring at us from the top. And speaking of staring at us from the top, let's get our angle change so we can take a closer look at this deck. Like I said before, our deck sandwich consists of our leader on top, our 10 Dawn cards on the bottom, and our 50 card deck sandwiched in between the two. So let me go ahead and fight with this plastic wrap so we can see what all cards are included in this starter deck. Starting with on top, our 5 life, 5000 power purple leader Charlotte Katakuri. Then we get 2 copies of the 5 cost, 7k power Charlotte Katakuri. Two copies of the 10 cost, 12k power Charlotte Linlin. 4 copies of the 4 cost, 5k power Charlotte Cracker with a 1k counter. 2 copies of the 1 cost, 2k power, 2k counter Charlotte Brule. 4 copies of the 3 cost, 4k power, 2k counter Baron Tamago and Paycombs. 4 copies of the 1 cost, 2k power, 1k counter Charlotte Flampe. 4 copies of the 4 cost, 4k power, 2k counter Charlotte Pudding. 4 copies of the 1 cost, 1k power Charlotte Anana with a 1k counter. 4 copies of the 4 cost, 5k power Charlotte Oven with a 1k counter. 4 copies of the 6 cost, 7k power Charlotte Daifuku with a 2k counter. 4 copies of the 5 cost, 7k power Charlotte Persepero. 4 copies of the 7 cost, 7k power 1k counter Charlotte Smoothie. 4 copies of the 1 cost event When 2 men are fighting, the last thing I need is some half-hearted assistance. 4 copies of the 6 cost event Cognac Mama Mash. And of course, our 10 Dawn at the very end. Now that we've seen what all cards come inside of our deck, let's take a closer look at them. Our leader, Charlotte Katakuri, is the Big Mom Pirates type, and we get its effect once per turn during your turn when you attack, and during your opponent's turn when they attack if you choose. You return one of your Dawn cards, rested or not, to your Dawn deck to be able to give your leader an additional 1k power and to look at the top card of your opponent's deck. If you've been playing at your locals and had this leader used against you, that's because it came out of OP11, which came out in June of 2025, over a year ago. We do get some new cards in this starter deck though, like our 2 SRs. Now, since this is Big Mom Pirates, there's a lot of Charlottes, but we're going big and starting with a Charlotte Katakuri. And it'll help make putting that Dawn card back into your deck easier because once per turn during your turn, you get to put up to 2 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck to the field rested if you've returned a Dawn card to your Dawn deck. And if that wasn't enough for you, when this Katakuri is KO'd, you can play an 8k power or less character from your hand. Our other SR is Charlotte Linlin. When you play this Charlotte, you can return 4 Dawn to your Dawn deck and trash a card from your hand to be able to then put your top card from your deck onto the top of your life and make one of your opponent's characters base power 0 for the turn. Charlotte Cracker lets you put a Dawn from your Dawn deck onto the field rested when you play Cracker, and then you get to KO a 2-cost or less character of your opponent's. Baron Tamago and Pecoms it's the only character that isn't a Charlotte. If you return a Dawn to your Dawn deck when you attack with it, you can KO a 2k base power or less character of your opponent's. Charlotte Brûlée is our last new card and our searcher. When you play Brûlée, you search the top 3 cards of your deck for a Big Mom Pirates type card to reveal and add to your hand. And to save us all some time, every card in this deck is a Big Mom Pirates type. And the cards you don't select will of course go to the bottom of your deck in whatever order you want. Now on to our OP11 half of the deck. Okay, half is an exaggeration. It's just these next 6 cards, plus our leader that were originally out of OP11. It's 15 different cards in the deck plus the leader, so we've got 16 total cards, and 7 are from OP11. So I mean, it's only 43.75% of our deck. 31.25% are new. Totally worth a whole starter deck, even though there's that promo East Blue Nami leader that you can't even build a deck for. Anywho, Charlotte Persephoro is a gambling card, but our leader will let you stack the deck. Once per turn during your main phase, you get to trash a card to pick a cost that you're guessing your opponent's top card of their deck will be. I'd highly advise attacking with your leader before doing this and returning a Dawn to your Dawn deck so you can have already looked at the top card of your opponent's deck so you'll know what cost to correctly guess. Since you'll guess the correct cost, you then get to draw a card, making up for trashing a card to start these shenanigans. And then you'll add a Dawn to the field from your Dawn deck, except you actually get to have it set as active instead of rested. A very elaborate scheme to unrest a Dawn. Charlotte Anana has a good bit of text in her text box, but is just a conditional blocker. As long as you've got Big Mom Pirates character not named Charlotte Anana, you've got yourself a blocker. Charlotte Oven is another carnival game card. You rest it during your main phase, correctly guess the cost of the top card of your opponent's deck, and win the ability to KO a base cost of 3 or less character of your opponent's, then put a Dawn onto your field rested from your Dawn deck. Charlotte Daifuku could have been Charlotte Vanilla since it's just a basic card. We're back to playing our stacked guessing game with our counter event. When 2 men are fighting, the last thing I need is some half-hearted assistance. If you correctly guess the cost of the top card of your opponent's deck, and don't forget you can use your leader's ability when your opponent attacks, you give a character or your leader an extra 5k power for the battle. If you get this card from your life, its trigger lets you draw a card. Cognac Mama Mash is used during your main phase to KO a base cost 8 or less character of your opponent's after you guess the cost of the top card of your opponent's deck. Its life trigger lets you put a Dawn card onto your field active from your Dawn deck. We're out of OP11 now and moving to EBO3 with Charlotte Pudding, who is a blocker, and when you play her, if you have less Dawn than your opponent, you get to play and rest a Dawn card from your Dawn deck. EBO3 strikes again with Charlotte Flampe, who, when played on your turn, lets you give any card you have named Charlotte Katakuri, so your leader is fair play, a 2k power boost for the turn. Charlotte Smoothie started out as a promo card in Event Pack Volume 7, but is in here now. When this card is KO'd during your opponent's turn, if you put a Dawn card back into your Dawn deck, you can play a Big Mom Pirate type card not named Charlotte Smoothie that has a cost equal or less than however many Dawn your opponent has in play on the field. So if they're at 10 Dawn, you can play a 10 cost or less. And that's all the cards that came in this starter deck, so it's time to talk about some upgrades. And let's start by sweetening up our deck with some pudding. Charlotte pudding, that is. I cringed too, don't worry. This pudding is a 1 cost, no power, 1k counter Big Mom Pirates type from OP11. You search the top 5 cards of your deck for a 2-cost or more Big Mom Pirates type to reveal and add to your hand when you play her. During your main phase, you can return a Dawn card to your Dawn deck and rest this pudding to look at the top card of your opponent's deck. PRB02's 7-cost 5k power pudding has a 1k counter and is Big Mom Pirates type. Her on-play effect is oddly specific. You return 2 Dawn cards to your Dawn deck, and so long as your opponent has at least 6 Dawn on the field, you draw 2 cards and then play a 6 to 8k power Big Mom Pirates type from your hand. This 3-cost 4k power 1k counter pudding is, of course, Big Mom Pirates type, and out of OP08. Once per turn during your turn, you get to bounce back one of your returned Dawn cards rested. The SR Sanjian pudding from EB02 is 5 cost and has 7,000 power. I'm feeling a bit like a broken record here, but when you return 2+ Dawn to your Dawn deck once per turn during your turn, you get to put a Dawn card from your Dawn deck onto the field set as active. And if you have equal or fewer Dawn in play as your opponent when you play Sanjian pudding, you draw a card. On to upgrading our Katakuri deck now with more Katakuris. Starting with OP08's 2-cost 3k power 1k counter Big Mom Pirates type Donut Katakuri. During your main phase, you can trash this Katakuri to play a different Katakuri that costs at least 3, but doesn't have a cost higher than the number of Dawn your opponent has on the field. The 8-cost 8k power Big Mom Pirates type Katakuri from OP11 is a blocker who at the end of your turn has you setting 2 3-cost or more Big Mom Pirate type characters as active and putting a Dawn from your Dawn deck onto the field rested. Strucin is from OP11, is Big Mom Pirates type, has a cost of 3, 3k power, and it has a 2k counter. Once per turn during your main phase, you can rest Strucin, return a Dawn to your Dawn deck, and correctly guess the cost of your opponent's top card of their deck to be able to rest a 4-cost or less character of your opponent's. You know how the starter deck was cards from OP11, EB03, some new ST34s, and a promo? 4 different origins. And our upgrades are puddings, Katakuris, a Strucin, and an event. See what we did there? It's a 1-cost The 4 Emperors and Land of Wano event card from OP07 that lets you search the top 5 cards of your deck for a Big Mom Pirates or Animal Kingdom Pirates type card to reveal and add to your hand. And with that, we are 2/3 of the way through going through these new starter decks that just came out. And as a reminder, whenever we get done with all 6 of them, we're going to be putting out a short where we open all of the packs that came inside the starter decks to see what all cards we got as bonuses. And here's your reminder that we put out new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays with shorts on Sundays. We focus mainly on One Piece, Pokemon, Lorcana, Gundam, and Magic the Gathering. Make sure you're following us over on Instagram if you haven't already at thatcardgirl.tcg. There's a link for it down in the description. And speaking of links in the description, there's a link to our Discord channel down there as well. If you aren't sure after watching this if the Charlotte Katakuri starter deck is for you, check out our One Piece card game starter deck playlist where we've gone through pretty much every starter deck that's come out since starter deck 20. Hopefully you can find one in there that works for you. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and tell the next bouncer you see about us. That Card Girl out!